You know, it's not always the internet, first of all. It's funny. So we in internet marketing, we think in terms of like everything has to be online. But this concept of selling stuff over the internet is only, what, 20 years old or so. I've been at it since 1999. Of course, people were selling online before then, but really it's a very, very new medium. And most people who sell things online, they use direct response. And what's funny is direct response has been around for hundreds of years. And there's countless books written by people who made a fortune without the use of the internet. You know, I'll tell you an interesting story because sometimes the answer is not online. I had this group of clients, I call them, strangely, the private client group, and I work with them in small groups, and we meet 3 times a year. And my job is to act as a rainmaker for them. So what happens is they come in and they bring me all their stuff and they say, here's what we want to get done. And really my job is to take all the unnecessary stuff away, find out where the biggest wins are and help them focus just on that one thing to help them grow their revenues. And we do a really good job of it. I'll tell you a story. I have this client, he is a doctor and most of his revenue has come from Google. He's ranked very highly in the search engines. He's a brick and mortar clinic and people come to him to treat a pain condition that they have. And when he came to me, he said, you know, I'm really, really worried because everyone's coming to me from Google, and what if my website's no longer in the top 10 or whatever? And I'm like, you know, you're right to be worried. It's like, what if that listing goes away? Now you have no lead flow. And he goes, yeah, but I've tried everything. I said, well, what have you tried? He said, well, I hired this agency out of New York, which immediately, I don't know if you have this reaction when people say New York. Remember that Pace salsa commercials? And the guy says, New York City. And they're like, New York City. So that was my reaction. I'm like, you mean New York City? What'd they do? And he said, well, dude, I paid them $30,000. They had me shoot these videos. The videos were ridiculous. Not a single person came into the office. And I said, well, tell me how the process works. Like, that's a bummer, but like, you know, backtrack to me what needs to happen for someone to actually become a patient and therefore provide revenue for your clinic. He said, well, it's real simple. They call the office and then I invite them to come in and I do a consultation. And about half of the folks I do a consultation for, they become patients and we help them out and everybody's happy. And that's where the revenue comes from. So I was like, okay, well, about how many, you know, what percentage of the phone calls that you get actually turn into appointments, which then, you know, turn into closed sales? And it's about 80% of the people that call in. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So really our job is just to get people to call in, and then everything from there you've got on lock because the guy's been doing it forever. And he's like, yeah, someone could call. Once they come in, it's fine. You know, it's a pretty easy sale. They're in pain. I can help them. No big deal. I said, okay, perfect. So I went to the library, which is the room I'm in right now. And I was like, you know what? I don't think the internet's the answer to this question right now in the short term. So I started reading on all these old direct response ads. And a lot of folks would run ads in the newspaper that looked like editorial pieces, but they were really ads. And they would say, you know, advertisement at the top, and they would have a different font and everything. And they would be about the thing that was for sale. And then there would be a little call to action. So I talked to the client. I said, you know, let's build one of these things and let's just write a little advertorial is what it's called, and let's run it in the newspaper, you know, in your city there, and let's just see what happens because it's going to be pretty cheap, and who knows, maybe it'll work. So we created it, no big deal. He runs it. I just heard from him. He spent $9,000 in total, not in one single test. He did a little test, then bigger. So now he spent $9,000 in ads on this one little thing in the paper, all right? And he has gotten $54,000 back in revenue from that ad spend. Not a single second spent online, right? So here's the lesson in this. When you're really looking to grow your business, if you're only thinking about the internet, and granted, in many cases, the internet is the answer. But if you're only following like the latest internet trends, you're potentially leaving hundreds of years of experience and wisdom outside of your scope of availability because there have been so much stuff that's been learned before any of us came along to do it. In the case of my doctor client, we just modeled what works, you know, 50 years ago, running simple newspaper ads. It's still working, by the way. So now our next mission with this person who's very happy, clearly, our next mission is to take the content of that newspaper ad, then turn it into an online ad, and then give online media one more chance, which I'm sure we can make it work. It's not always going to be the obvious. Sometimes you need to sort of have someone that understands the history of direct response, understands what all of your options are, and can guide you in the right direction of, hey, here's the proper thing to test to get the best objective right now. You know, if it sounds like something you like to have in your business and you'd like to consider being a private client, just type in private client in the comments below this video. My little chatbot thingy will send you an automated reply with all of the information. And if you like it, we can set up a time to talk and maybe we can work together. Regardless, really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you know anybody who might find it valuable, please feel free to share it with them. Until then, take it easy.